Welcome to the Jameson Files. I'm your host, Carrie Weber, and I'm so happy to be in our main offices here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, with two amazing women in dentistry, my good friends, Jennifer Vickery and Brandi Williams. Jennifer is the Chief Operating Officer of Ocean Dental, and Brandi Williams is the Chief Growth Officer at Catalyst Dental Allies. And the thing I'm super proud about is these are two thriving DSOs that are based right here in our home state of Oklahoma. And so thank you ladies so much for joining me today. We've known each other probably about the same amount of time. Maybe at least 5 or 6 years. In that time, you both have been in these leadership positions in these dental service organizations, both focused a little bit differently in what you do and what you focus on in dental care. But what I love is that you've been really committed to not only your leadership positions in the businesses, but in your practices' growth and success and the team members that are within them, but also in the dental community as a whole. You're really plugged in with ADOM, you're really plugged into Women in DSO, doing a lot nationwide to support development of leadership in that DSO realm. So I feel like, we've never done a podcast episode that revolves around DSOs. And so I think we're past due to have that conversation. So I want to start with just a little bit about your stories briefly. How did you find yourself in the positions that you're in? What are the things that you're discovering over your time in leadership in your organizations that have been the most meaningful to you?
Yeah, so I started in dentistry in the 90s. Paper chart, filings, paper schedule, appointment books. With the private practice, I was fortunate enough to have a friend that worked in the dental office, filing charts after school. I had a great mentor leader in the dentist that wanted to teach me. I was curious. He wanted to teach me. I learned how to assist. I learned how to do everything in the front, and it was fun. I didn't grow up thinking I want to be a dental office manager, but I found myself there and was like, I don't want to do anything else. It was just something new and exciting every day. I feel like I kind of got my start in DSO before it was really DSO. I worked for Pat Steffen at Advanced Dental.
Yes.
And he had a few group practices at that point and, went on to acquire several, build several, and then sold to Heartland.
Well, I didn't know that part of your story. You really have been in DSO from day one.
Before there was DSO, yeah.
You're like ground zero of DSO.
So cool because I love to learn, and I felt like that's the best opportunity to learn. I had some great experiences in private practice, and when I think of like team development and amazing teams, I go back to that private practice because you just have more time together to train, and some of my best memories are with private practice. But when I look at opportunity and growth, DSO. As soon as I feel like the ceiling there and I can't do any more, I get like super antsy, and I just have to know that there's more.
So for you, really just the amount of growth professionally you've been able to experience in that DSO structure has really been the tipping point for you.
There's always something new to learn, always, there's just always more. It's exciting, and I think that's why I love DSO as much as I do. And it's had a bad rap in the past with the whole corporate stigma, but so many private practices are being acquired or selling, and now what used to be kind of a dirty word is just the norm. And
yes,
I think we have a really cool opportunity to help some of those people that were in private practice getting acquired start to kind of embrace and be prepared for what's next to come for them.
It's incredible what used to be taboo.
Yeah.
Really now there are so many. I mean, and your two organizations are a perfect example. Two different structures, two different ways that you grow, two different ways that you execute patient care. There's just so many ways that DSOs are forming now. It's interesting.
There's it's not cookie cutter by any means.
Yeah.
There are so many different platforms and acquisition models, and
I love that. And your perspective is really interesting because you really have run the gamut in terms of experience in dentistry as all those, those positions in a practice and taking that experience to the leadership level, I'm sure is very powerful for Catalyst and for the practices that you work with.
And I think of, to quote my friend Teresa Duncan. We're probably not really friends like that, but I'm going to say we are.
I bet you are.
Yeah. I've slid into her DMs. So she shared that leave the ladder down speech.
Yes.
And I'm at an age now where I'm like, I get that. Like there was nobody leaving the ladder down. Like I was climbing, and I would love to just create an opportunity in our industry where people are like, I want to do that, or
yes.
how do I get there, and make sure that I'm sponsoring and helping others in their career. I'm at the point where I'm kind of rounding third now, and I want it to be about other people.
I love that. And so I think you all represent that in a lot of ways, because I remember having conversations with you before several years ago, just saying, where are the courses and the development opportunity for people like me in my position. I know there's a lot of people that are stepping up into leadership positions in these different emerging DSOs that don't know where to find resources and implementable training to help you be better at the job that you do. And I think you've really owned that, both of you have, of trying to seek out ways to bring relevant information to office managers and to others in no matter what size of DSO to help people lead better. So Jennifer, a little bit about your story. How did you get started? How did you find yourself at Ocean?
So I am actually a medical school dropout. A lot of people don't know that about me. But I started working in dentistry when I took a leave of absence from medical school. My heart just wasn't in it, and I was trying to find where my passion was. And I was living in Dallas, and I started working as the executive assistant to an owner of a DSO in Dallas. A little bit of a similar mission. It was Medicaid focused, not completely pediatric focused, but we had 8-9 locations across DFW. And in that, I just fell in love with the business side of dentistry. So 15 years later, I've been with Ocean almost 8 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. And I love it. I love the mission behind it. I love that we are serving in underserved communities, rural communities, touching lives. We've been in business 26 years, so now we're seeing a lot of second generation patients.
Wow, yeah.
Which is really neat to see them come in and bring their kids in and tell their kids that this is where they went to the dentist. And so I love it.
I love that. This is going to be sad. Talk about rounding third, Brandi. I remember, and a lot of our team that are still at Jameson have been with us for a while would remember when Ocean Dental was coming into the industry, having conversations with the founding leadership of Ocean Dental and talking about their vision and getting to know what you all were doing when it was in Stillwater.
Yeah.
And so I remember from the start of where Ocean has come from. So really cool that you found that place. So when you all think about, because you're both in really pivotal roles in your organizations to, onboard and develop practices that are coming into Catalyst, or for you, the operations of the business in general. What have you found in the 8 to 10 plus years that has changed, that you see coming? I think we all agree that DSO is, taking a firm place into the dental profession as a whole, and will be even more so as we continue on. What do you see coming, and what do you see a need for in leadership in organizations like yours?
So I do see that there's a shift in mindset, with generations coming in. A lot of the younger population, it's a different mentality. And I think rather than trying to get them to conform to what you want and your expectations, we are having to meet them where they are. We are having to find ways to keep them motivated, encourage them, and keep them inspired. But we are having to kind of meet them where they are with some of their lifestyle choices, really. Yeah. I think that has been the biggest shift that we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years. It's just a lot of the younger generation coming in. Okay.
Not even 30 minutes before you all came in here, 3 of us were having this exact conversation. Because, and this is an issue, whether you're in a practice that is tied to a DSO or you're a solo practice, this is the narrative I am hearing
everywhere.
Yeah. So it's interesting that, you're not alone, little solo doctor. Everybody's feeling this shift in mindset in team. And, we're coming out of a 2-year, I don't know that we're out of it. I mean, you can tell me.
We're not out of it.
Of hiring.
Yeah.
And, really the supply and demand being, really in the favor of the job seeker.
Sure.
And so I am curious from you all, do you find that to be the biggest challenge when you're in a larger group, finding good people, keeping good people, keeping them inspired? Is that the biggest challenge for you?
Yeah. I mean, I feel I'm the irrelevant one now. They definitely have the power. And what motivates me does not motivate them. And for me to think I'm going to be able to make that happen or convince them to, or mold them to, it's not. So I'm really having to be very intentional with my leadership and my thinking and my listening to find out what motivates everyone. How can I make this exciting and fun? Because at the end of the day, I do want them to love what they do.
Yes.
But going to evening CE, and that's not their bag. They don't want to do that.
Yes.
That's what I love. I don't want to do that. Do I get paid? Do I have to go? And so really just trying to listen, and it's been hard, but we've done some flex scheduling and, different types of incentives, and not just monetary, but lunches and just different gifts and things that we can to motivate and keep people engaged.
Yes.
It's been tough.
Yes. And do you think, are there pieces in your organizations where you find culture development to be, is that a key priority in terms of building some kind of shared culture within Catalyst and Ocean? How do large groups do that? How do you build some kind of unified culture that these practices and the team members that are a part of it do feel this level of commitment and desire to bring their best and to stay?
So we have a lot of collaboration between clinics, especially that are in the same state or the same district. We do a company newsletter every month where we feature the employees, things that they're doing in the clinic and the communities that helps them to see and acknowledge that, okay, I'm not on a rock. I am tied to something that's bigger. We try to be on a first name basis with every employee. We've got, 200 employees.
Wow.
So for me to be able to walk into a clinic and say hi to everyone, and, my goal is always to know at least 80% of who I'm seeing in the clinic. Coming out of COVID, it's really hard.
Yes.
It's all covered up in PPE. So I think that, making sure that you are connecting with them, you're finding ways to connect with them, you're relatable to them, that they can approach you and say hi, you can have a quick conversation in the hall, but not overstepping, proper leadership and chain of command. But I have seen a lot of things that we've done kind of similarly too with, you guys do your big summit once a year where you kind of bring everyone together.
It's great.
Where they're able to see that they are
bigger.
they're part of something bigger.
Yes. That community tie. It's important, and I think I appreciate that you both have that sense of awareness, and that's a priority to help listen. I love that you use that word, Brandi. To listen to. Each person's going to be motivated and driven by different things. And so to be able to listen and learn and develop and be flexible, it doesn't mean that you don't set very clear expectations. That's absolutely not what we're saying.
How we get there looks very different now across the board.
But that communication piece, listening, but also clearly communicating and tying them not only to a culture and to the community of the organization, but also making sure that clear expectations are set is such a key element to performance. So what other pieces, you talk about culture, talked about that engagement piece of being a big challenge and something that you focus a lot of energy on. What are other aspects of that DSO structure, the managing and leading of multiple locations that you find you have to put a lot of energy and priority on for you to experience success?
Consistency, training. I mean, we devoted, that's pretty much 100% of my role right now is training. Every new manager that comes in, we spend 3 weeks of training, which was not the case before. It was good luck, sink or swim, because everybody is busy. And when you try to do that in the office, there's patients coming in, the phone's ringing, and we just felt like the message wasn't getting across to everyone, and it wasn't consistent. So trying to create efficiencies, consistencies, to where we do have like the annual summit where we devote that to some training and culture building, and then breakout summits throughout the year, team trainings, learning management systems, and then just trying to ensure that everyone is consistent in their message, that it's not from the top to the bottom, everybody gets the same message and it doesn't get muddied along the way.
I think for me, I spend a lot of time trying to focus on building confidence of my leaders and really encouraging them to be brave. You guys, we've worked together almost 8 years. You know what I would do. What would Jen do? If you can't get a hold of me, execute. I believe in you. And if it's not the right thing, we will figure out how to clean it up. But rarely is it ever not the right thing. But giving them the confidence that I support you, I believe in you, and you can do this. And I can't be there for every decision.
You don't want to be there for every decision.
But we know. But you guys know the vision. You know what we're trying to accomplish. If you feel confident to execute in that decision, fly. Fly.
That's great.
There's I love Craig Groeschel's leadership podcast called the Craig Groeschel Leadership Podcast. I mention it all the time. I really need to not be such a fangirl. But he always talks about when it comes to growth that, we're all limited by our own capacity. And he talks about, one of the biggest pieces is that delegation piece. How far into the organization do people have permission to make decisions? So I really appreciate that you focus on that. And, something interesting that I discovered doing some research on leadership, delegation, and so on, Gallup polls, released just the end of last year a study that they pinpointed that truly one of the main drivers of engagement of employees does fall to management. So the middle management, the office managers, the practice managers, the regional managers, those that are that next point up, the engagement of the practices can be pinpointed to the way that those managers are leading. And so what they've discovered is there's so much burnout in just the workforce in general, that when the managers are burnt out. So how do you all deal? I think we all as dental professionals suffered a great deal of really trying to overcome burnout after the pandemic. How do you deal with that? Do you feel like that's an issue anymore? Did you feel like that was something you have to overcome?
Always. I feel like there's always going to be a big, and a lot of it, I don't think that's cookie cutter either. Like you have to find out what really fuels people. For me, I do love CE. I love learning things. If that stops for me, I get so burned out and just not excited about things. But when I have the opportunity to get poured into, I spew that to all of the people that work alongside me. And I think when we pour in and give to our leadership team and support them, they feel empowered.
They feel empowered too
with the rest of their team and become cheerleaders, and it really does set the tone. I look at some of our, if you look at a regional manager that is just not excited about what they're doing, you can look at the other offices they support and feel that too. And the lack of training for regional managers, I feel like that's something that is missing and has been missing in the DSO space. We find really great office managers and throw them into a role that they aren't trained for or equipped for, and are expecting to be great leaders of multiple practices when they were great office managers but never really got the tools or the training to be great leaders of office managers.
Say it louder for the people in the back, because you see this all the time. There's potential for leadership. A person has reflected really great skills to succeed in this particular role, and we automatically think, oh, well, if they're good in that role, then they're going to be great at leading 10 other people in that role, when that's a completely different set of skills. So I really appreciate that you see that, and that's a whole other level of training and development that a person would need to commit to. So that leads me to a question. If there were people listening to the podcast that either are looking to step into a role in a DSO, let's say they're looking to come in as an office manager or a regional manager, or they want to grow and develop like you all have up the ladder, what would be a key piece of advice that you would give them in terms of how to prepare, how to be their best in a DSO leadership position?
That's a great question.
I feel like that piggybacks on what you just said, Brandi, in terms of there's a lot of people that want to do more. They say they want to do more. They dream that they want to do more. But are they the right person to be in that seat? And if they think about that and they still want to be in that seat, what do they need to know to get them from their skill set here to there? I mean, I think that's a really important expectation piece.
I think the number one skill set that you have to have in leadership is empathy. I think that you have to be able to differentiate between when to give in, when to cut somebody some slack, and knowing when they need accountability. And that is, I think, part of the hardest part of leadership.
That's something you're really great at.
Well, and leadership in a DSO, because, when we talk about the taboo pieces of DSO, there's a stigma that, I'm going to go and they're just going to tell me what to do and tell me how to do it.
And I have to.
Yeah. So that piece of listening, empathy, that's not in the chit chat about DSO. Right. So I find this fascinating that both of you have keyed into that. So sorry to interrupt, but a little bit more on that.
So empathy, if a team member is struggling, why are they struggling? Is it a work problem? Is it a home problem? Where do you draw the line on where those two bleed into each other? How can you help and support that employee? Or how can you have the conversation with that employee of, maybe this isn't a good time. Maybe this isn't the right role for you right now because we have, a lot of distraction and noise over here. And, knowing when to support your employees through a hard time and when it's something that really just the passion isn't there.
Yes.
And there's always going to be a noise that distracts them because it's not their true passion.
Yes.
And just helping identify, that in people. But I think empathy is really important. Empathy and accountability.
I love that. Anything to add on that, Brandi?
I think mentorship's important. I mean, I can speak personally to that because I reached out to you early on at Catalyst, help me.
Yeah.
And I've gone from so many different seats until I actually found the one that made sense and where I felt like I'm thriving and helping the most. So I definitely think find somebody that you aspire to be like and that is successful in their role and surround yourself with those kind of people and, get feedback and guidance from them. And then if you really are interested in that career growth, let your boss know. Let them know what are the next steps. Where do I need to be? How can you help me with that? I don't know too many people that I've worked with that didn't want to help me succeed or that didn't really have a genuine heart to grow me. So if that's something that I know somebody wants to do, I'm going to try to find every opportunity imaginable to let them flourish and grow and support them.
I love that. And it's not only to find mentors, but to be able to be mentored, coachability. And that I always call it the ongoing passionate curiosity for what you do. I think there's a mindset in anybody in any kind of leadership or growing in their leadership will discover very quickly, I'm never going to have this 100% figured out. We're all going to be continuous learners in this because the mindset of the employees are going to change or COVID happens or whatever happens, and you have to be continuously developing your skills to be better tomorrow than you were today. So the people that are going to step in, if you are a person that's looking to step into more leadership roles and are exploring DSOs as a place for your professional growth, you must be coachable. And I would also recommend, as you're evaluating a company that you want to be a part of, I would ask questions of where training and development falls. Yeah. What are the priorities of training and development? And it's funny that you almost went in medical. Jess, my husband, who we own Jameson together, has his master's in health administration and was going to go work in administration in hospitals. But the leadership development focus was never present in any of the hospitals that he interviewed for. So people kept asking, why would you not just continue working with Jameson? He finally realized, I don't know why. If you want to thrive, you have to be poured into. And so organizations that get that and create those kind of developmental opportunities will have great leaders come up. So I love that. So one more question about DSO and then a couple of questions about ADOM. If you were talking to doctors that were looking for their career path or looking to make a change with their practice or their career, what would you want to tell them about entering into working relationships with a DSO, with a dental service organization?
I think that can be very different from DSO to DSO. So I think a lot of times, when they're looking to transition to a DSO, it could take a few conversations to really find the right one. I feel like we all do things a little bit differently with how we partner with the dentist. You guys acquire. We're 100% de novo. We've never acquired any practice. So I think a lot of what you guys probably, I would assume, embrace when you buy a practice for a little while before you change and convert is just going to be very, different. So I would try to find, what their pain points were in their private practice. Why are they looking to get out? And see which DSO might be the best fit based off of that. And then, of course, their skill set, the patients they're going to serve, the community they want to be in. Really, it's kind of like a matchmaking process.
Yes.
To find the
It's
right
dating.
It is.
And if it's not the right fit, it can be devastating, not just to them, but to us too.
Yes.
If we hire a doc and it's not a good fit, it's devastating to the patients that have to go through another doc, another turnover, to the staff that gets attached to the doc. So it really is important that it's a good fit and that they kind of go through that whole process,
courtship.
all of those, courtship to really determine.
Well, I have had the unique opportunity to work with a lot of private practices, but we're seeing more new grads come in too. And it's almost like heartbreaking to see how difficult it is for a private practice to be successful. They pay so much more for their supplies and their lab fees and their reimbursements from insurance are so horrible. And I look at all of the advantages that they have going from a private practice to a DSO to become so much more successful financially, and they get the opportunity to grow too. I mean, if they have something that they really love, a procedure that they're very passionate about, now that opens the door up to training, development, mentorship, or maybe traveling if they were interested in doing that in other places or learning more procedures. So I of course love DSO, and I see what it has done for some of our dentists that were ready to retire, that we're like, I thought you were retiring. And they're like, no, I'm having so much fun now. I don't I'm like, you've made it easy for me. So and with any DSO, any private practice, there's going to be stumbling blocks. There's going to be issues that come up. But I think it's a great opportunity for new dentists, for older dentists, because you've got a support team behind you that wants you to be successful. You've got so many new efficiencies and resources and platforms, and AI and things that you might not be able to do in a solo practice.
Yes.
You're not swimming in debt, hopefully, so you can focus more on what really matters, which is the patient and the team. So
yeah, I love that. I mean, it really comes down to philosophical fit, and I love what you said. If they're looking to go into a DSO relationship, figure out why, and that all comes down to professional vision. What's your vision for your career moving forward? Why would you want to go into a relationship or a partnership with an organization outside of owning your own business? And figure out what the questions are that you need to have answered to make sure that philosophical fit is there. I mean, I tell people, when you're looking for a practice management software, patient communication software, think through what you want it to do for you and ask those questions in the demo. Why would you not take those steps to vet the organization you're going to align yourself with? So I love that advice, and hopefully you all were listening to that great advice. So briefly, let's talk about, both of you not only are really committed to leading within Ocean Dental and Catalyst, but you also do a lot outside of that, both very active in ADOM. So tell me a little bit about that and how you came to find yourselves really stepping up to the plate to build, especially here in Oklahoma, the ADOM presence.
got suckered into that one totally, and I dragged her along with me.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, watched it.
Well, thank goodness.
No, during COVID, I was watching a Front Office Rocks, shout out to Laura Nelson.
Yes.
Video, and there was like test drive ADOM. I'm like, I've never heard of that. I didn't know this existed. signed up for it and ended up being like a featured member. Our Patterson rep was like, we wanted a local chapter. You should start one. I'll do everything. And I was like, okay. And come to find out, they're like, that's a conflict of interest. They can't do everything. And so now I'm in too deep, but it has been so fun. And that going along with that whole leaving the ladder down, like that's really where our heart is. It's a lot of work. I'm not going to lie. Like being a part of a chapter and arranging all of this and trying to get the rest of the community excited and involved. It's a lot of work, but it's so much fun. And I found so much like fulfillment and joy with just what we've been able to do in the few short years that we've had the chapter, or the DPLN now, and what it's doing for the community. And there's still so many people that have no clue that we're around.
Yes.
It's really just a support group for office managers. And if you're in a private practice, a group practice, a specialty practice, it's really just an opportunity.
And now we're support for all dental professionals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Making that transition. And I found ADOM through Paul at Cedar Solutions. So we were doing a HR webinar during the midst of COVID and furloughs and furlough letters.
Oh my gosh.
A whole file.
Thank goodness for them during the pandemic. Goodness.
And he shared a post about a free ADOM membership. And so I clicked it and I signed up. And my first newsletter, I think, had a picture of Brandi in it. I texted her and I said, "What's this?" And she said, "Come be my VP."
Guess what? You're hired.
So it's been a fun few years, and
Green Leader,
exciting, yeah.
Green Leader Award winner.
That was fun. Was that
Mastery level?
Yeah.
23
fellow,
something like that. Yeah, it was
Fellow.
fun. We went deep, like way deep into ADOM.
You act like it's past tense.
Well,
you're still in the dive.
Yes, for sure. But
I think now we are thinking more about our legacy, though. I passed off the VP torch this year to Misty. She's doing an incredible job. I'm still supporting them with their treasury. But I think we are kind of thinking about what's next. What's next for this organization? And, we can't be the ones to lead forever. We can't be around to support forever. And so what's next for them? What's next for us?
Well, I love, I think it's a testament of servant leadership, because you all are tremendous leaders in the businesses that you help to lead, that you're taking that another step in volunteerism and helping to develop, this network right here in Oklahoma for no other, and it is a lot of work to find speakers, to bring content, to bring things that are relevant and helpful. Just like we said, trying to find things that you're like, people need to know. We don't know what to do. We want to bring those resources to more people like us that want to grow and develop and thrive in dentistry. And so just a big thank you to both of you for committing that time and energy and passion. And it really is leaving the ladder down for other people. And you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But you have a lot of people that are recognizing and seeing the great things that you all are doing in dentistry. So thank you guys for being with me today. And thanks to all of you for joining us for another amazing Jameson Files. Be well, and we'll see you next time.